Welcome to episode 169 of the quest lore series, The Curse of Arav. To start this quest you must have completed Troll Romance and Defender of Varrock. You speak to Elias White in the Uza Oasis. He thinks that he can find some knowledge to help Arav by going onto the plateau and investigating the Mastaba, which means tomb. His research has informed him of a rare and unusual form of necromancy that was once practiced in these lands, involving the removal and preservation of the heart, similar to what the priests of Icflorin would do during their burial ceremonies. The difference is that this necromancy practice is performed while the victim is still alive. This dark magic angers Elias, as he believes this is almost certainly what happened to Arav. The victim of this curse becomes a slave to whoever possesses their heart. Even though their mind and soul remain intact, the body does as the necromancer commands. You must recover Arav's heart. Not only must it be preserved, but it must also be kept beating as well. Zamoragul has a way of doing this that Elias doesn't understand yet, but maybe the Mastaba on the hill contains the answers. It was built to house a pharaoh who ruled thousands of years ago. One of her many feats was saving the victim of a Mazarat necromancer. Whilst you explore the Mastaba, Elias will try finding where Zamoragul is keeping Arav's heart, and he wants you to find a group of what Elias presumes to be explorers that entered the Mastaba and haven't come out yet. He also expects that there may be defensive mechanisms in place to deter any would-be grave robbers. You'll meet back here once you're done. You run up the hill and enter the Mastaba. Inside you search a skeleton to find a key. Searching a second skeleton, you find a second key. You see a wall with odd markings which you search to disable the trap, and then pull a lever whilst turning one of the keys in a small keyhole beneath it. You do the same on the other side and are now able to open the imposing doors to fight a golem guard. While the screen shakes, you move away to avoid a lot of damage. After you defeat it, you're able to continue down some stairs. You then walk across some coloured tiles that raise the other colours as you step on them. Pulling a lever on the other side disables this obstacle, and you make it to a room with a sarcophagus and many statues. On some shelves, you find some canopic jars filled with oil. A mural shows one of the jars being filled with 3 dwellberries and a ring of life, which you also do. On another mural, you see the Pharaoh Queen placing a heart into the jar. You return to Elias and say that this should be able to preserve Arav's heart, and whilst you are exploring the Mastaba, a colleague of Elias has recently spotted Zamoragul entering an old fort near the mountain of Trollweiss, after adventuring through some tunnels that led to it. You take a pickaxe with you, as there have been a few cave-ins recently. Near where the troll child and his parents are from the desert treasure quest, you find a cave entrance that leads to the summit of the Trollweiss mountain. Here you find a crate with rubble that needs to be mined from multiple directions to get through. As you make progress, you find tablets made of stone, granite, slate and shale. Together they tell a story of a ritual stone that will grant great power, and a plan to dig some tunnels under the mountainside that will lead to it undisturbed. Eventually the tunnels reach a brick structure, and among the bookcases you find some notes of each of the Mazarat. Akthanakos has not been seen since the God Wars, and his presence is still felt in Gielinor. He is presumably still loyal to Zaros, and still in a struggle with Anakra. Azanadra is loyal to Zaros and has recently been freed. Bilrak hasn't appeared yet but is willing to go along with what Zamoragul is suggesting. Anakra's presence is also felt, and she has been in a continual struggle with Akthanakos this whole time. Haziel is part of the Zamrak-aligned faction. He's been gaining in power and territory. Jarlan was considered the weakest of the Mazarat race. Khazad is the youngest, but he managed to build an army by manipulating weak-minded humans. Karshai disappeared and hasn't chosen to ally himself with either faction. Mizark, Lamistad and Ralvash were sacrificed during the Mazarat rituals. Lucian is Zamoragul's mage cousin who's become increasingly powerful and is suspected of having found the Stone of Jas. Slisk is a powerful and elusive Mazarat with strong shape-shifting abilities and prefers to stay in the shadows. He has recently reappeared with Zaros' horn. Wahisiatel is on the Zarosian side, and lastly, Zamoragul just notes that he considers himself amazing. You climb up the steps and see Arav, who you talk to. You say that you're here to help him and ask where his heart is. He says that in the next room, behind a flame tapestry, you might find something that can help. You search it and find a key, plus some complex plans for Zamoragul's base in Silvaria. You return to Elias in the Uza Oasis with the base plans and the key. He interprets the plans and confirms that the chamber marked in the base contains Arav's heart. The corridors in some areas were set up with a human detection spell that would trigger an alarm, but the sewer system can be used to bypass it, although surges of electrical energy are sent through the water there, so you'll need some insulated boots. On the other side of the sewer, you find a vault door which is guarded by zombies that will set off an alarm when they see an intruder, with an incapacitating gas being released and knocking out all living things in the area. The final door is made of 5-inch thick runite reinforced steel and has a 4-digit access code. If it's entered incorrectly more than twice, the alarm is set off. And behind the door is a crisscross of special fire rays that Zamoragul made. Touching these causes damage and sets off the alarm. In the back of the vault is the pedestal holding Arav's heart. You say that this sounds like an impossible mission, but Elias will act as bait to lure out the zombies, and to deal with the lasers you can use a crossbow and a grappling hook. You meet him at Zamoragul's base near Varrock. Whilst he distracts the zombies, you make your way to the kitchen and squeeze through a pipe. The insulated boots allow you to run through the electrified sewer system until you make it to another pipe. Then, in the most southeastern room, in a chest you find a 4-letter code. On the table you find some decoder strips, and by inputting the letters, you can decipher the correct numbers and are now able to open the metal doors with this 4-digit code. You then equip your mithril grappling hook with a crossbow to avoid a fire laser alarm. When you try to take the heart from the pedestal, Zamoragul appears. He sets Arrav to kill you. Every few attacks he'll do a whirlwind with his axe, which you move out of the way of. And also every now and then a zombie appears, leaving a trail of venom on the floor behind him. You can defeat the zombie at a distance. Zamoragul asks Sharaftirk to deal with Arav, but somehow there's a magical force stopping him from teleporting. Elias appears and distracts them, telling you to grab the heart quickly, and then you're teleported out. You're immediately suspicious of Elias being powerful enough to have the skills to teleport directly into the room and keep the Mazarat at bay, and also the fact that they seem to know who he was. He says everyone's entitled to their secrets, and that his relation with Zamoragul is complicated, but he doesn't want to elaborate further. Whilst the heart is the key to Zamoragul's control over Arav, possessing it might not be enough to fully break the control. He'll have to do further research and wait for the right opportunity. He'll be in touch once things are ready again, and he departs. You get 2 quest points, access to Zamoragul's fort, and 40,000 XP in mining, thieving, and agility. Join me next time for the final episode of the Quest Lore series, where I'll explain the lore behind While Guthix Sleeps.